Fine-grained access control is now available on single-user clusters. It's available in public preview. This is an engineering update, but it actually affects data scientists and ML engineers. And the reason is that very often ML engineers will need to use single-user access mode for their ML workload. So, for example, whenever you're using distributed ML libraries or GPUs or R, you'll need a single user access mode. And that's because the other mode, which is shared cluster, it has some limitations. So shared clusters, they don't offer support for distributed ML, multi-GPU clusters. So for ML workloads, generally you'll always choose single user clusters or assigned clusters, as you can see, when you create that compute in the UI. And the problem that we had, and that's solved with this public preview, is that so far, the single user cluster, it didn't have access to data that was governed by fine-grained access control in Unity Catalog. So what happens is that often we want to try and take advantage of all the fine-grained access control features that Unity Catalog offers. So that's views or row filters or column masking. So for example, every time you have PII, you may have some, some of these features that appear, on your tables. And also you wanted to leverage that on materialized views and streaming tables. And now that's possible on single user cluster. And this capability, it's enabled for the runtime version 15.4 and above. The one caveat is that you need to have serverless compute for notebooks and workflows enabled.
Excellent. So how does this work behind the scenes, Lara?
Yes, let me show you quickly a little diagram here. So whenever you have a single user cluster that will process a query that touches a view or a table with row level security, column masking, or a materialized view streaming table, what it will do is that it's going to pass the query to serverless compute, which then will perform the data filtering as is shown on the diagram. So here you can see that, for example, we have a select on table 1. So no problem, no restrictions. Then we have select on a view, but not on the underlying table 2. And we also have select from a table that has row filters applied. And before, with single user cluster, as you can see in red in the boxes, that wasn't possible to query these views and the table with the filters. Now what it's going to do is going to send that to this data filtering so that you can process, you can do this operation. And it's all done with using serverless compute.
Excellent. So at this point then, if you're using this specific runtime that we said, there are no limitations in any kind of the Unity Catalog products we can query with single user clusters.
Exactly. So that means as a data scientist, if, for example, the data engineering team puts some filters because they don't want you to see some PII data, so for example, I don't know, customer emails, you can query this view, which is super useful.
Amazing. And what about the cost?
So in terms of the cost, that's a really good question because as you could see here, we offer a serverless compute service in order to do the data filtering. So you will be charged for the serverless compute resources that are used to perform those data filtering operations. So for customers that want to see more, like get more information on this, they can always check the platform tiers and add-on pricing page, and we'll put a link in the video.
So then in a workload like this, we are getting charged for the single user compute plus the serverless compute for the data filtering.
Yes.
Okay.